just a reminder before we start this demo, Pigeon is not one to go into cold. Definitely do it towards the end of a practice or after a walk or a run or a bike ride. And my intention with this video is more so that you can start to expect some of the strategies we'll try in our classes together, not necessarily that you go and do this at home without having tried it with a teacher first. Here's a quick demo of getting into pigeon pose using homemade props. I have got a couple of yoga blocks here. You could replace them with thick books or a low chair at the front of your mat. And then I'm kneeling on quite a padded, thick blanket, which will really help my legs later on. And then I've got my 2 homemade bolsters, which you can learn about in a different video. And I'm going to pop those in front of the blanket, initially stacked one on top of the other. So I've got a really high, firm pile. I'm going to stack this on its widest setting to give myself something really secure to start with. And then starting with my knees hip width apart, I'm going to walk the right leg round, moving my blocks to help until I'm in a low lunge over the props. And because the props are combined in bags, they're staying stacked much more easily than they might otherwise. Then I start to think, sending my weight a little bit further forward. So I really feel like the props are underneath my front leg. I'm going to pick up the blocks here just to help find a bit more space. And then walk my right foot over to the left. And now I'm in pigeon pose. I'm sat on my bolsters. The back leg is padded. And if you find that's not comfortable, try wrapping it in a blanket before you go. That might be a little bit extra for you. Because my cushions are already compacted into these bags, they're not slipping and sliding as much as they might were you using them sort of independently of each other. When it's time for you to leave the pose, you've got options. So I'll demo one for each side. For this one, I'm going to talk you through how to walk around. I would take both hands slightly to the left, still using your blocks to help, and pick back up into the lunge. And then you very carefully wiggle that right foot back around the way it came. And you're back and you move very carefully and safely out of the pose. I'm going to spin round to demo on the second side so that you can still see the working leg. So my second side, I'm all set up, good to go. And I'll start off by walking the foot round. And maybe at this point, you have to sort of slightly restack the bolsters, but it should be easier than if you had the equivalent number of blankets and cushions independently. When you're happy here, you start to wiggle that foot over. And then you sit down and you release that back leg. It may be that you need to send the pelvis slightly further forward. It may be that you want to pick up out of it again, very carefully on that back knee, and adjust your bolsters so that you've got a bit more support. Moving carefully, having all your padding on your joints really helps. Again, you'll probably want to stay here for a while, but here's a second option for leaving the pose. And this one is possibly a bit easier for those of you who worry about the back leg. So we're going to move both our hands over towards the side of the front leg and start to lower the blocks step by step until you've got a really good connection with the floor. Then you're going to start to release and bend the back leg, and the blanket will help you slide it in. And then you lower down, and if I move the bolsters, you can now see that I'm in a sort of deer pose. And then the blanket helps me to slide round, so I gradually release that back leg, and I come back down to the floor without having to go through lunge. So if the difficult bit for you is coming out of pigeon through lunge, that's another option. It also takes some practice, but for some of us it can feel much safer.